What we do is we publish a condition book every month, and each day's races are listed in there, and the trainers and the jockey agents get that condition book. And then we take entries. So for Wednesday's races, we enter on Saturday, and for Sunday's races, we enter Tuesday morning. So we open the race office up at 7:30. I have my assistant and Quarter Horse Racing Secretary Michelle Milner there. The race office administrative assistant Danielle McCormick, and entry clerk Shelley Wellborn. And the trainers come in, see if there's any extras, which are listed on the previous overnight, and they've got some races pointed out, the conditions for their horses. If they have a maiden that they want to run for 5,000 claiming, going long, say they'll look for a race like that in the condition book. And if we take entries for that day, they'll come into the race office and they'll come up to the entry booth and enter that horse. What we do then is we mark it on the board, the white board, so we know how many horses are in each race. And then Danielle will input it into the computer system, and that will print out an entry blank. And then Michelle Milner will check eligibilities. And we just continue that for 3 hours or so during the morning. And then usually about 10:30, we'll have a pretty good idea on what races are going to go and which ones aren't. And we'll get 9 or 10 races. And at that point, we'll look at the field size, and that kind of determines how we set the day's card. It's all determined by a wagering handle. So we want the bigger fields where we're going to maximize the betting handle. So I'll look at the card, see how many races, what races we're going to be using for that day, how many are in each race, how competitive they are, if they're really going to be a competitive race or if there's a couple of standouts. That all determines how we're going to set the card. If we're going to use like for example, the 4th race in the book might only have 6 horses and not that competitive race, we might use that as the first or the last race. And say the 8th race in the book has a full field of 10, a real competitive race. And depending on what day it is, we might want to use that as the 5th race or the 7th race. To make a competitive race, you want to get as big a field as you can with the majority of those horses. When the handicappers look at that race, they'll have a tough time making up their mind. They can't pinpoint 1 or 2 horses that only really have a chance to win. You want like 6, 7, 8 horses that have a good chance, lower than 10-to-1 odds. What we do is write the conditions of the race. You'll notice in the conditions of each race, they'll be for, like an example would be 3-year-olds and up which have never won 3 races, claiming $2,500, 6 furlongs. So the trainers are going to enter their horses that they think they're going to be competitive in that race, and we'll look at it, and if it is a competitive race where the odds are going to be even amongst 6, 7 contenders, then that's a competitive race. If you get a race that somebody stands out at 4 to 5 odds, then that's not a real competitive race on paper anyway. It might come out when they actually run the race to be a competitive race, but on paper it wouldn't be when somebody stands out at 4 to 5 even money. I've been a horse racing fan since I was 12 years old, so I just love horse racing, love the action of it and the competitiveness of it.
Stay tuned.